In this edition of Airborne, EAA President Rod Hightower has resigned. Bendix King's myWingMan app is now available from iTunes. And NBAA 2012 is just around the corner, and ANN will be there in full force. I'm Ashley Hale. Welcome to Airborne on Aero-TV. Well, a bombshell has just hit the aviation world, as EAA's President Rod Hightower has just put in his resignation. Jim Campbell reports from Redbird Skyport in San Marcos, Texas.
Over the weekend, we started hearing rumors that big things were afoot in Oshkosh. This morning, those rumors persisted to a point where we put in calls to EAA's communication department and asked them what was going on. At the time, there wasn't a whole lot of information, but a couple of hours later, calls made back to ANN confirmed that, in fact, big changes had taken place at Oshkosh. What we know right now is very simply this. Rod Hightower has stepped down for personal reasons. Over the course of the 2 years he's been involved with EAA, he has not yet moved his family to Oshkosh. That process apparently did not go well and has not been able to be completed. And as a result, basically, he's going home. In the meantime, Jack Pelton, former CEO of Cessna and a very solid spokesman for the GA community, is chairman of the board of EAA and will be overseeing the transition for the selection of whoever's going to lead EAA from here on out. A statement made by Pelton says quite a bit about the process. EAA, as does all of aviation, faces many challenges with the continuing economic slump and the decrease in personal aviation participation. As an association, Rod and the senior team have put the organization on a solid path to our future while honoring our legacy and focusing on the mission of our founder, Paul H. Poberezny, established 60 years ago. The EAA mission is to welcome all members, no matter what they fly, celebrate our volunteers, and enjoy the world's greatest aviation celebration. There's more to this story than meets the eye. We've gotten quite a bit of details. There's no question that far more than personal reasons surround the decision by Hightower to resign. But of course, the real question right now is who will lead EAA into the future? After many years of Paul and then Tom Poberezny and a short term with a non-Poberezny at the helm, well, that process has not gone so well. The future for EAA is still a very big question mark, and you can count on ANN to be reporting on this aggressively as we have all along. For the moment, your guess is as good as mine, but we think that Jack Pelton's going to have a lot to say over this in the next few days and weeks. For the Aero-News Network, Aero-TV, and Airborne, I'm Jim Campbell.
Bendix King's myWingMan application is now available for download from the Apple iTunes Store. Bendix King developed myWingMan, a flight planning and in-flight navigation support app, to simplify operations and push the boundaries of tablet computer use in the cockpit. Unlike any application on the market, myWingMan offers general aviation pilots full en route navigation on a moving map display, real-time weather information, and synthetic vision for improved flight navigation and safety. Kevin Gould, president of Bendix King, said, quote, "We didn't set out to simply design another application for the GA marketplace. The myWingMan app sets a new standard for what pilots can expect from future mobile flight planning and navigation tools," end quote. Designed specifically for GA pilots, the app includes an advanced synthetic vision system, pre-flight planning and routing, sophisticated weather capabilities, seamless interaction with certified aircraft systems, and a clean user interface with both 2- and 3-way split-screen views of available charts and data, so pilots can view multiple windows of information at one time. The app is available for download from Apple iTunes Store starting immediately. The 2012 rendition of aviation's annual pilgrimage to all things BizAv is nearly upon us, otherwise known as NBAA 2012. Aero-News Network, the aviation world's daily real-time news and information service, will of course be there in full force. We'll be producing daily episodes of Airborne straight from the floor of NBAA 2012, hosted by yours truly from October 29th through the 31st, to keep you up to date with all the latest happenings at the convention. Plus, ANN's team of expert aero journalists will be covering the convention from top to bottom, producing stories for Airborne, our daily Prop Watch newsletter, and our Aero-News audio podcast. For all things NBAA 2012, be sure you're logged on to www.aero-news.net. The FAA says key officials are not available for a meeting originally planned for Tuesday, October 23rd in Seattle to discuss changes in flight patterns over the city. ANN's Tom Patton has that story.
The meeting was called after residents in several Seattle neighborhoods loudly protested the agency's reticence in addressing public concerns over new flight corridors mandated by the Greener Skies Over Seattle program. The Seattle Times reports that some residents campaigned to block the implementation of the plan that would change flight paths for airplanes arriving at SeaTac International Airport. The FAA denied a request to extend the comment period for the Greener Skies program, but did agree to hold the meeting until now. In a statement, the FAA said it is talking with leaders in the community in an effort to find a new time and location convenient to everyone involved in the process. Alaska Airlines, which is conducting the trials, estimates the Greener Skies procedures will cut fuel consumption by 2.1 million gallons a year and reduce carbon emissions by 22,000 metric tons. The FAA says that when Greener Skies is completed, it will have a template for how to implement these kinds of airspace improvements across the country. For Airborne, I'm Tom Patton.
Well, it looks like EADS has its eyes on additional U.S. military contracts, including a new armed helicopter for the Army. Reuters reports that after EADS merger talks with BAE collapsed last week, EADS North America CEO Sean O'Keefe said the company was undeterred in its plan to grow its U.S. defense business. At present, EADS is in search of a U.S. defense contractor that will help the European aerospace giant pitch an armed version of its UH-72A Lakota helicopter, in anticipation of a U.S. Army competition for an armed aerial scout helo. That competition has not yet been announced. The company has already spent tens of millions of dollars to develop the aircraft and has demonstrated the helicopter to Army officials. EADS says it can deliver the new aircraft in the same time frame required to update the Army's existing OH-58 Kiowa Warrior helicopters. Winning that contract would generate between $2.5 to $4 billion over the next several years. But any such acquisition program has to be viewed against the backdrop of the upcoming election and the possibility of sequestration, cutting $1.2 trillion from the federal government at the beginning of 2013. The Army may decide by the end of the year if it is going to open that competition for a new helo. You're watching Airborne, more in a moment.
Since the early days of powered flight, pilots have struggled with landing in crosswinds and learning proper crosswind landing techniques. Even today, most crosswind landing skills are learned through trial and error, sometimes with disastrous results. Believe it or not, the most common contributing factor in weather-related accidents each year is crosswinds. The second most common factor is wind gusts. In fact, crosswinds and wind gusts cause more landing accidents than fog, thunderstorms, and icing combined. That's where the Redbird X-Wind SE comes in. It teaches pilots the proper techniques to meet and beat these top two causes of weather-related landing accidents. By placing pilots in gusty crosswind conditions for extended periods of time, the X-Wind SE gives instructors all the time they need to teach the pilot the proper techniques for landing in challenging crosswind conditions. For more information on Redbird flight simulations, the Redbird X-Wind SE, and Redbird's entire line of flight training devices, visit www.redbirdflightsimulations.com.
Welcome back. If you'd like to suggest a story for Airborne, Aero-TV, our website, or a podcast, drop us an email to news-spy@aero-news.net. TSA says 25 employees at Newark Airport will lose their jobs, and 19 more will be suspended because of violations of standard operating procedures for screening checked bags at one of the airport's 25 baggage screening rooms. Offenses range from sleeping on the job to failure to consistently perform random screenings of checked bags. A statement released by TSA contained the boilerplate language that the agency has a zero tolerance for misconduct in the workplace. ABC News reports that TSA said that the firings are the result of a year-long internal investigation that was prompted by alleged thefts by a TSA officer. A recent ABC News investigative report indicates that over the 10 years of its existence, the agency has let 382 employees go for stealing items from passengers' luggage. One former employee admitted that he had taken some $800,000 in money and other valuables from luggage he was supposed to be screening, and for which he spent 3 years in prison. That agent, Pythias Brown, said it was, quote, easy to steal from the luggage being screened, and said it began because of poor pay and poor morale at the agency. He said the problem became massive when people saw they could profit from the thefts. Quote, clearly this is not a Newark problem or a Honolulu problem, or a problem isolated to one or two airports, said House Transportation Committee Chair John Mica, a Florida Republican. I lay the blame at TSA because it's a bureaucracy that doesn't know how to manage an army of 65,000 employees, end quote. Well, it's Tuesday and time for Aero Video of the Week. This week, a reminder it's always good to check your landing zone for foreign objects. Like cows, maybe? In this brief video clip, a tiny tiger moth has a way too close encounter. Finally this week, the aviation industry is mourning the passing of an industry legend, 95-year-old Albert Lee Yulchi, founder and chairman emeritus of Flight Safety International, Incorporated. Al Yulchi was a widely respected aviator who soloed at the age of 16, later flew with Charles Lindbergh, and was the personal pilot of One Trip, the iconic chief executive of Pan American World Airways, who traveled in a converted military aircraft that was among the earliest post-war business airplanes. While flying for Trip, Yulchi noted that the pilots of the business aircraft had no access to the benefits of formal training that he had experienced as an airline aviator. Consequently, he founded Flight Safety International at New York's LaGuardia Airport in 1951 to provide instruction to this new breed of pilot. Yulchi was also a humanitarian. He was the driving force behind Project Orbis, an international nonprofit aircraft-based teaching eye hospital. In 2010, he co-founded Help Me See with his son Jim for the purpose of addressing the cataract tragedy in the developing world, where about 19 million cataract blind reside. Yulchi was honored many times by the NBAA and by the FAA, the NAA, and the Canadian Business Aircraft Association. NBAA President and CEO Ed Bolin said, quote, Yulchi's impact on the industry and the people in it has been profound. He always said that the best safety device in any aircraft was a well-trained pilot, and he made sure our community had a lot of well-trained pilots, end quote. Well, that's our program for Tuesday, October 23rd. Quick, concise, and convenient, you're always up to date when you're airborne with Aero-TV. I'm Ashley Hale. Thanks for watching.